So imagine getting a reminder on your phone that your car fuel is running low and the location of the nearest fuel station. That be too great to imagine? Such use cases are becoming reality in the energy sector today. To talk more about this, we have Ms. Poornima Girish, IT Competence Center Manager, Shell. She holds a master's in computer science from Illinois Institute of Technology and has a rich experience of over 20 plus years majorly in Honeywell and Shell. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Hi all, am I audible? In fact, I would be audible even without mic. How many of you here are from Shell? Oh boy. Okay. Not all, yeah, majorly from Shell. I would be talking about a lot more in Shell, about Shell. So good for others also to know. I'm Poornima Girish, as she said. Thank you, Nikita. I lead the digital delivery from Shell. Today, I would be covering in terms of what's the digital strategy and our journey towards digitalization in Shell. If you see, digitalization is not a new terminology. It's all about converting analog or paper-based into, yeah, sure. It's converting a lot more in terms of whatever you do, whatever you used to do manually into all computer-based system. It's not just that, right? It's all about taking it to the next level. As she mentioned, how great it would be if you're going near a fuel station and it says, hey, you have these offers, why don't you buy these in the Shell station? Or it says your fuel station is running, your fuel tank is running low, and why don't you refuel? So it's beyond taking the paper-based into a computer-based system. It's much, much more. Digital has transformed in the last decade much beyond what we could imagine. Digital has also changed in the energy sector. Any idea what it has changed in the energy sector? Let's keep it a little more interactive because you all had heavy, nice lunch there, and I would want to make it a little more interactive so that you participate with me. Otherwise, sorry? Am I audible? Okay. So let's make it a little more interactive so that you also engage in the sessions and I know how to steer the conversations or how to take it further. And if there are any questions, probably we can keep it in the end and we can have question and answer session. How do you think digitalization is transforming in the energy sector? Any thoughts, any ideas? Absolutely, customer is at the center, right? So it's bringing in more simplicity, safety, and what's Shell doing about it? Shell has been looking into energy sector a lot more than any other company because Shell is in the energy transition mode. It's transitioning from oil and gas to an energy area, lower carbon footprint. Any thought on these? Okay. As and when I talk, if there are any questions, probably you seek there itself. What's Shell doing about it? If you see, Shell is actually, if you see the macro trends, the population is growing from 7 billion to 9 billion. We are adding an India and a China by 2050. What does this call for? This call, 75% of the people will be in cities. When you say cities, it's all about electricity, lot more energy demand. And what does this, the energy demand would actually be going to 75% more, 75 to 100% more than what it is today. And Shell has a huge pressure in terms of bringing in the climate change. How many of you here have heard about Paris Agreement? Wonderful, a lot of people know about it. It's all about global warming, right? Because of these energy emissions, the global temperature has already increased by 0.8 degrees Celsius. And 2 degrees is going to be a devastating. Now, how do we retain it? How do we contain it is what was this Paris Agreement all about? So there is a huge pressure on Shell in terms of supporting this greener energy transitions and helping in climate, not making sure there is too much of carbon footprint into the ecosystem. So what's Shell doing about it? Shell's utilizing technology and still looking at becoming customer's choice in future. Yeah, this is another generic macro trend. If you look at a couple of years before, you see the companies which had market cap. The companies that had market cap were predominantly non-technology-based companies. The ones in yellow are all technology-based companies. So the company, hardly one or two companies in the top 5 were in technology companies. If you see the trend today, the top 5, in fact, the top 7 spots are all occupied by technology companies. So what does this indicate? This indicates that technology is actually revolutionizing the way people work, the way people think. So not just this, at Shell, we are looking at how do we, if you see Shell was there in the top 5 companies. And why do you think oil and gas companies are not here? Predominantly, oil and companies have lagged because of huge capital-intensive funding into the organization. At the same time, high oil prices in the past actually did not really support that whole transition. If you see now, oil prices have gone down all-time low. We call it lower oil prices, right? So in Shell, we call it lower forever. If the oil prices remain to be like this, technology is the only differentiator in terms of taking the value to the next level. Again, look at this changing landscape. What does this indicate? Today, it's a lot more oil and gas, and tomorrow it's all about electricity. How are we going to change along with that? If you see, disruption is being disrupted is what they call. Whatever is today, whatever has led you till today will not take you far from here. How is Shell gearing up to this? Shell, if you see the whole thing, digitalization and not just other disruptors, customer is being the king. And not just that, if you see, it's also the technology is becoming more faster and cheaper over years. 4 main global trends have seen in the last 3 years. What are those? The cost of sensors are drastically coming down, and the processing power is consistently increasing. Analytics, advanced analytics has been quite a lot improving. People are able to predict artificial intelligence, advanced analytics, machine vision, machine learning is actually helping in terms of using this data that is available on the cloud to do a lot more analytics. And then third, what else? What is the trend showing? The processing power on the cloud is exponentially increasing. And fourth is the easy access to the internet. So all these 4 parameters is actually helping digitalization. And so is for Shell. If you see Shell uses digitalization in multiple ways. One of the way it uses is in terms of Shell has, a lot of people are in Shell, right? So Shell extracts, that part is called the upstream, where you extract oil, and then you take it to the end user. That's the downstream part of Shell. So both the upstream and downstream are using digitalization in terms of taking it to the next level. What is it doing? All the refineries and factories or the assets that we have, we are getting almost 10 million data points per minute. And what are we using it for? We are using those to monitor and bring in a lot more energy efficiency in those equipments. If an equipment goes down, a deferment in that would create a production deferment of almost $1 million. So it's impossible for a company like Shell to make sure, it's important for a company like Shell to make sure that there is no disruption there. So there is a continuous production of oil throughout. So Shell is using digitalization as a key enabler to remain competitive in this whole space. So probably in the next video, I'll take you through how different divisions of Shell are doing in terms of digitalization. This is a slightly longer video. It takes you through different businesses of Shell.
The development of digitalization is vital to the future of Shell.
An aspiration to make production more efficient and products cleaner.
The use of these technologies is such a game changer.
Our capability is second to none.
This is about a pace of change.
So what is digitalization?
Digitalization is a way to manage data more effectively, to drive insights that will allow the business to deliver more value.
Digital is a great enabler for new business models. We can serve customers that we were never able to serve before. It's all about how we can use information to then create new solutions for our customers.
With Shell Tap-Up, we provide a flexible fueling infrastructure. We've got a wide range of customers that do not need to spend time anymore at the fuel site.
Most people already order their groceries at home, so why don't you order your fuel at home? I just order it through the app, and in 3 clicks I've got a full tank.
The future shift to electric vehicles is pretty clear. Shell is launching our Recharge Plus solution, and it's all about how you optimize charging for electric vehicles.
If you have a bank of 10 chargers, you don't want 10 drivers plugging in at the same time. This puts a strain on the grid. Our optimization algorithm is pretty smart that it moves the charge to a time when solar or wind are at their highest and prices are at their lowest, helping the environment and the driver save money as well.
It's more cleaner energy. We're helping to switch to zero-emission vehicles and helping the grid to have more renewables on the system.
The more data we have, the smarter we have to get about managing it. Just because you have thousands of documents doesn't mean you have the information you need at the right time. FindAll is a new innovative resource implemented on the PenChem project.
Everything at a site is located by an equipment tag. FindAll uses that as the basis to connect all the different databases. We have complete accountability of over 3 million documents and equipment tags on this site.
Now I can go to the tag number for my equipment and immediately find exactly what I'm looking for.
Digital twins use drones to take construction project snapshots on a weekly basis, and from these images we create accurate 3D models of the entire construction site.
To walk all the way around the site and try and see what's going on from the ground level is quite difficult. So this enables me to get a top-down view to quickly determine what we need to do. It's very effective.
Any reduction in time solving an engineering issue will mean literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a day in waiting time that we'll avoid. And we have a safer project, too.
Shipping around the world is a very, very inefficient operation. If we can improve our efficiency, we can reduce the amount of time that we're waiting at ports, then we can reduce our fuel usage.
The LNG Shipping Accelerator essentially consolidates loads of information in one place so that instead of having to consult various different resources for each one of my vessels, I can see everything immediately. The real value is sort of the time savings for myself as an operator, but also the level of accuracy.
Where is the nearest port and where is the most cost-effective way to refuel the vessel?
Precursors to poor performance, so we can actually take action ahead of time and prevent that performance from dropping in the first place.
Getting people within Shell to be able to procure as easy at work as they do at home, that's a big deal for us.
Sharp Ariba is a key platform for our Shell users to access the supply chain, and also is a one-stop shop for contract and procurement.
We have 1,300 CP colleagues using Sharp for their everyday work. Making contracts, tendering, online bidding, collaborating with 30,000+ suppliers electronically. What we've actually deployed is a market standard, making things simple, making them fast, making them highly effective.
What we noticed as we were delivering our previous generation of technologies to the business was that interpreters were having a hard time keeping up with increased data set sizes and also the numbers of data sets that they were forced to interpret. And so we began a journey to take the Silicon Valley technologies and adapt them to the interpretation of seismic data.
Data discovery is becoming near instantaneous. We see with the first delivery of our Shell Data Universe, we can find data immediately. Then we have the GeoCrawler program that really empower users to spend less time in manual tasks and more time creative thinking.
As soon as we get the data, it allows us interpretation across the larger data set, which would normally take us a long time. So it really is a game changer in that regard.
We want to expand the concept to see if we can use deep learning to predict hydrocarbons in the subsurface, using not just seismic data, but well data, gravity and magnetic data, and even geochemical data.
To make margin, we have to keep our plants running, and our biggest problem is when the plants trip due to equipment failures. If we can predict that, then we can prevent these failures and save the company a lot of money.
Before we developed these systems, our people spent a lot of time analysing mountains of data to try to find where we might have an arising issue in our plant, which was very labour intensive.
Instead of being reactive, we're now proactively going out, fixing issues before they become a bigger problem.
The big benefits of this program is 24/7 coverage. It looks at about 300 system parameters all the time. Human beings can't do this kind of thing. All the foundation blocks of the model is replicable. Now we've gone to another asset and replication has already started.
By working together, we were able to replicate that model in our facilities within a day and gave us a good insight in how our valves are behaving.
The scalable part of this project has the potential to increase for all valves with Shell. Why not use it on everything we have?
Collaboration has been absolutely key to get to a point where we are able to see results in such a short period of time.
We see that this new agile way of working and this ecosystem of talent really helps us run our business in a different way.
This technology is going to make us better engineers because we have more time to do engineering work to prevent systems going offline.
Companies that are not at the leading edge of this will quickly be left behind by the competition.
There really is strong urgency for us to go to the next way of doing things. And it's a great feeling to say you're part of something that can be tremendously big.
It's a journey which we will all have to embrace in the future. So let's embrace that opportunity now.
All right. This gave right from upstream to downstream, what all we do as part of digitalization. Another example is Shell retail, energy retail. What does it do? Any idea? It was a company that Shell acquired called First Utility. This was predominantly in UK. Now it is rebranded as Shell Energy. Why is it called Shell Energy? It's beyond changing those websites. Application is developed, mobile application is developed, where a user can actually shift between different energy systems for electrifying their home. When I say electrifying their home, they can choose as a user, end user, I can choose whether I want to take it from renewables, because it's completely transparent to the end user. So how do I electrify my home? I can choose saying that I want to take those companies that are a lot more using renewables in nature and to be more supporting in terms of Shell's cause. Of course, renewables are a lot more cheaper too, so that gives a customer a greatest advantage in terms of cost. Not just that. Shell also has something called as Recharge Plus. You saw it in the video. What does it do? When you take it to fuel stations, it allows your electric vehicles to charge. It gives something called as fast charging. So again, in the charging area, it gives customer an option between choosing what the customer wants in terms of price, in terms of renewables, the way they use, the way energy is produced, everything is made extremely transparent to the user. So this gives customer a complete choice of choosing. So if you see, Shell Energy is a lot beyond electrifying the homes. It's giving customer a choice in terms of what they want and how they want to use the energy. Yeah, another video on Shell's future transport.
Than a quarter of the world's total energy use. With global energy demand expected to rise by 30% by 2040, the need to move more people and goods must be balanced with efforts to cut carbon emissions. In the near term, innovations in engine, lubricants, and fuel design can help improve efficiency and reduce emissions from vehicles powered by internal combustion engines. Such engines are likely to power the majority of vehicles for the next couple of decades. Looking further forward, a range of fuel options will be required to meet growing demand in a low-carbon world. With an ear to the evolving needs of our customers and society, Shell is developing other transport fuels, including biofuels and liquefied natural gas. And we're exploring opportunities for electric vehicles, powered by both hydrogen and batteries. We're working with the German government and 5 companies to install a national network of fueling pumps for hydrogen fuel cell electric cars by 2023. Ultimately, we believe in achieving the greatest efficiencies possible with the fuels and vehicles which are available today while preparing for tomorrow.
All right. Let me talk about what's digitalization. Digitalization is beyond technology. Digitalization is about people and the way we work towards digital. So Shell invests quite a lot in the IT infrastructure to make sure we partner with the best cloud providers, and Shell has quite a lot of access to data. What we do with that data? We believe in recruiting the best engineers in Shell so that we use the data into transforming into actionable insights. And the whole strategy, if you see, a lot of people from Shell are sitting here. The whole idea was to capitalize on the abundant talent that's available, especially in Bangalore and India, and to capitalize those talents, combine it with the business acumen or the business proximate locations to accelerate digital energy. So how does Shell do it? Shell has 4 value pools. You saw all the 4 value pools. One value pool is called subsurface and wells. What do you mean by subsurface and wells? It's all about how you extract. And where is digitalization used there? If you see, in order to identify where are those oil-bearing wells, Shell uses digitalization. It uses artificial intelligence to actually see where are those oil-bearing rocks deep inside the earth or in between the sea. And not just that, it also looks into reservoir modeling. So typically what happens from the satellite, you get a lot of seismic images. From those seismic images, you process those seismic images to see the hydrocarbon deposit. From the hydrocarbon deposit, you take it further to see what obstacles are there. So Shell has something called as geocrawler and fault crawler, which helps in identifying what hard rocks are in between to extract those oils, and where is the best place to dig a well. That's one of the pool. Second pool is called asset management. As part of asset management, what do? We look at different equipments that are running and see how we can actually predict the failure of those equipments. As I mentioned earlier, we collect almost 10 million data points a minute. From these data points and past history data, we actually extrapolate the data to see when the equipment would fail. Based on that, we make sure the equipment is just maintained just in time. We don't bring down the equipment on a regular basis. Instead, based on the predictive analytics, we control those trips, equipment trips. That's one. And the other, in terms of asset management, is we have huge tanks where oil is stored. So we use drones technologies to actually see where there is corrosion and leakage. These are places where humans are impossible to enter into. These huge oil tanks or gas flares. If you've seen a refinery, there is a huge gas flare. So these drones are used to actually look into those gas flares and see where the problem could have been. So all that is done through asset management. Customer centricity is, again, keeping customer at the center. You heard a lot of things. One is Recharge Plus. Second is Shell Energy Retail. There are many such. The third one is Tap Up. When you want oil or gas to be refueling your vehicles, drivers are given a choice to say, use the Tap Up. This Tap Up facility is currently there only in UK. A lot of customers in UK have made use of this Tap Up facility where oil comes to you instead of you taking your vehicle there. And then retail site of the future. Many of you may know, even in India, we have huge Shell Connect stores. In India, there is also something called as Daily Cafe. If you see all those, the whole thing is to give an experience to the customer rather than just refueling the vehicle. And the fourth one is about digitizing the processes. We have huge inventories. So in order to maintain just-in-time inventories, we use something called as inventory optimization. So inventory optimization is one, and second is Shell procures for its own internal use 40 billion worth of items year on year. How do we make sure we optimize the whole procurement? So Shell has something called as Sharp program, which is completely a digital software program, which helps in terms of what's the inventory, what's the stock, and what needs to be procured. So this is as part of the complete digitized processes value pool. So these 4 value pools help in bringing a lot more digitalization to Shell. We are looking at energy transition, right? When you say energy transition, moving from higher carbon footprint to a lower carbon footprint. When you say moving to a lower carbon footprint, involves looking into different business models. When we say new business models bring in a lot more new value to the Shell. The Shell's thought process is these new business models will bring in so much value in a longer run, helping in energy transition. If you see, these are just few examples. These are in association with a third-party company. So you don't see too much of a Shell branding here. Fair Pilot is one where it helps drivers in UK to say where the demand is a lot more and where the taxi driver should be in, wherever the demand is. And then second one is Wonderbill. When you come back home, you wouldn't, in UK or in other developed countries, you have options to actually switch between different electricity suppliers. Typically, people don't do it because you have a lot of clauses to be read through. So Shell has partnered with another company, BCG, where an app is created called Wonderbill, which helps in going through the details of it and helping the end customer see which is the best cost value-added electricity supplier. And the cost of it is borne by actually the supplier and not the Shell themselves. Or the user doesn't have to pay anything to Shell. The third one is connected freight. Shell has, again, a percentage of stake in a third-party company called Tiramisu. Tiramisu has expertised in last leg space and time optimization. When you actually get into this last mile space and time optimization, they help in terms of how do we deliver the product to the customer in the most fastest and best way. This is already implemented in Philippines and Manila. And the last one is FitCar. Like how you have Fitbit, which monitors your health, every car has something called as onboard diagnostic port, OBD, or dongle. So along with the dongle is like a sensor box which measures all the parameters of your car. With the help of an app, it shows how the car is being driven. Not just driven, it also shows the health of the whole car. This actually gives rise to a lot more new models. When you say business models, the same data could be used in terms of seeing how a driver drives a car. And insurance could be based on that. So a lot more new business models come when you actually look and combine it with digitalization. So advanced technology, along with thinking of new business models, will give rise to a lot more value to Shell. Talking about how BAs, most of you are sitting here, are all BAs, right? Business analysts. How you've contributed to the whole digital transformation, or how Shell's BA have contributed to this entire digital transformation is what is summarized in this slide. If you see the complete life cycle, what does a BA do? He or she looks into the business, understands it, and partners with actually the business. Shell has something called as business-facing natural teams, where irrespective of the boundaries or the hierarchies, or a natural team comes together, and this natural teams work towards delivering that product. What are those key criterias an individual must possess? Skill set. It's about top 3. Relationship management, communication is one, needing discovery, and then technology management. Technology management happens as an inherent way. Lot more focus needs to be given on the first 2, which is relationship management and needing discovery. Needing discovery is beyond something identifying the requirements and just putting it into VSTS, right? Understanding what is unsaid by a customer, understanding their pain points, and converting those pain points into those artifacts that the product is being developed for. And relationship management, again, relationship management is beyond. When you look at customer and their pain points, you look at what value they're looking from this product. And when I say communication, it's beyond delivering the product. How do you make sure those product that is given? In Shell, it's called as transformational change, where you actually go to business and see how the business uptakes the whole application or the product that is delivered to them. Help them to use the product. It's very natural for a business to use the old ways because they're so much focused on the commerciality aspects, they really do not look into the product that is being delivered. So focusing and helping the business on uptaking of the product, and the entire change management life cycle is one of the key skill set that a business analyst should have. And the collaboration part, again, stakeholder engagement, communication, these are all some things that's not new to you. However, who's responsible or who's accountable for managing this whole thing? It's the business analyst. How does business analyst take care of communication, stakeholder engagement? Yeah, in talking to the customers and stakeholders, it's going beyond that in terms of understanding their pain points and the value that they drive out of this product. Absolutely, creating that relationship, creating that bonding with the customer who's having those pain points. So it's all about converting a pain point into a product, right? How does this happen? It happens to this life cycle of collaboration. One more important aspect is training. Training is what I covered as part of change management. How do you train business to use the product that you have delivered, and making sure capturing those pain points and bringing it back to the product so that you give a product that's really usable. As part of business adoption too, constantly monitoring the value and bringing it back. So this is the entire life cycle of relationship management and communication. All right. In order to summarize the whole thing, if I summarize, what are the 4 core pillars in digital transformation, enabling the digital transformation? One is getting data correct. When you capture huge amounts of data, as I mentioned, we use 10 million data points per minute. We process so many data points. So imagine how much is collected. When you collect the data, if the data quality is incorrect, the whole garbage in will result in garbage out. Second, having a constant focus on driving business value. If the focus is lost, the opportunity loss is more in terms of several millions and billions. And then third, in terms of key skill set, which is collaboration being the key. And fourth, we spoke about digitalization is not just about technology, it's all about people and their ways of working. In Shell, lot of emphasis is given for people and to build their career. Who's responsible for building their own career? Themselves, right? So a lot of opportunities are provided, and so that they actually contribute and add value on the product that is being developed. So if you want to take as a complete cycle, it's not just digitalization, it's also the energy transition into the lower carbon footprint that's helping Shell in powering its progress. This is summarized by our CEO, Ben, in one of the summit. Can he increase the volume?
Trust you. It's all about getting the basics right, but it's also about getting the products right, products that people need and want, and making sure that we move in step with society on society's expectations. And digital, of course, is also very important for Shell. We see digital as a core element of our strategy to be a successful energy company, providing cleaner, more energy to more people. Well, I would like to think of our company as actually one of the leaders when it comes to digitalization in our industry. We have a long way to go, but there is a fantastic amount of activity going on, brilliant ideas that are being worked on, and tremendous impact already to be had when it comes to the application of digital. For instance, last week, we did the first product derivative trade on blockchain together with our partner Applied Blockchain. And this is just one example of how technology can completely revolutionize something that has been a very traditional business for a long time already. We believe this is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity for us, and therefore we want to be absolutely at the forefront of the digital revolution in our industry. Big tech has a lot of things to be proud of, and I think the speed with which things are being done at this stage, but also it's about risk-taking, it's about trying out new ideas, it's about failing fast, it's about really applied innovation. All areas where I think we in the energy business can learn agile ways of working, but also making sure that we are more experimental and more experiential in how we interact with customers, but also how we interact with technological solutions.
So in order to summarize, these are all the products that you saw in that first video that we saw, right from upstream to downstream. All these are helping Shell in the lower carbon footprint, taking it to a lower forever scenario. Happy to take any questions.
Good afternoon, Poornima. I'm Arun from ITC Infotech, and I'm engaged as a business analyst. I'd like to ask a couple of questions. Can you give us a little more insight on what is predictive maintenance? Is it an approach to reduce the mean time between failures, or is it something that predicts a failure in advance, which can be avoided? Okay. And the second thing I would like to know is your inventory optimization model, and how is it different from the conventional ones that are used?
Sure. I'll talk about predictive maintenance. When you see predictive maintenance, we have, I mentioned about huge assets that we have. Shell has almost 78 assets, which is both upstream as well as downstream asset. So we have huge equipments. Making sure those equipment continuously runs is important. How do we do it? One way to do it is proactively bring down the equipment and consistently maintain those equipments. However, bringing it down on a regular basis is not, this is how we all maintain cars, right? When the number of kilometers is 10,000, you go and give it to a service. Is that the right way? If somebody has driven car a lot more effectively, is that the best way to maintain a car? May not be. So what do? All these equipments have lot of data generated. So from huge data, I just mentioned about 10 million data points. So the equipment could be in terms of valves. Valves are those that opens and closes, or the compressors, that compressors which push the data up, or it could be a furnace or a heat exchanger. So what we do is all the data that is there, data is there. So all the data that is captured is actually taken into and extrapolated, and based on this extrapolation, we look into how do we actually, when can it actually fail? So we take the past several years of data, combine it with the real-time data, and extrapolate using multiple advanced analytics algorithm in terms of predicting when an equipment can fail. This prediction will actually help in terms of bringing down the equipment and servicing just in time, rather than doing it on a regular basis. The second question you spoke about was on IOTA, inventory optimization. How do we go about doing just-in-time inventory optimization? Take one of our assets in Gulf of Mexico. So when you actually extract oil from deep inside the sea, you cannot actually transport a lot of stuffs. So what we do is, there is a system called IOTA, and that algorithm just identifies what is the inventory that is there in Shell connecting to multiple systems. This IOTA actually connects to 17 different systems. These systems are huge in nature. Some could be SAP-based systems, different ERP systems. It connects and actually tells you where what is available and how easy or difficult it is to get at that site. What is the time it takes to get into that site, so that it optimizes the entire inventory across Shell. And as I also mentioned, we spend almost $40 billion in terms of procurement, contract and procurement. So having this right inventory and getting it just in time will help us to maintain things that are not obsolete. It's all at the place of a click. So it's a complete software that actually connects to, it's completely software and data driven. It connects to different systems and collects all the data. It takes some time to collect the data, and once it fetches the data, it shows, and then it also predicts in terms of how much time it takes to actually get to that location.
Hello, ma'am. This is Surya from ITC Infotech. I just wanted to know more about the Wonderbill technology which Shell is working on right now. Wonderbill. Yeah. And second thing is that when I was going through, you were explaining about the roles of BA in Shell. I was seeing that in the previous seminars, we got to know that now BAs also should leverage on technology. But over here, I was seeing that mainly Shell is into domain knowledge. So how much domain knowledge specific the role of BA in Shell is actually? Okay. Thank you.
Good question. So let me answer about Wonderbill. Your question was what do we do in Wonderbill? Again, Wonderbill is a new business model. I spoke to you about 4 new business models. There are many. Shell has something called as digital ventures. So this digital ventures actually partners with third-party companies in exploring new business models for Shell. Wonderbill is one such. This again is in UK. What it does is you have a lot of key suppliers of electricity. It looks into their rate systems, rate cards, and sees who is the best. And it just doesn't look only purely rate card. It also looks into your consumption pattern. How do you use it? There are some houses who uses it for heating. There are some houses who use it for a lot more than heating, charging vehicles, many other things. So based on the consumptions and also the electricity provider, it gives you suggestion in terms of who is the best at that point in time. It gives you a lot more suggestions in terms of what is the best, and it also gives you a certain combination. Should you be taking for this portion of the house on one vendor versus another vendor? for now, it allows to. Shell is not into electricity providing. It only picks up and says, based on the tariff and the current consumption usage, it tells who is the best supplier to go for charging the whole house. And it also gives you how the supplier produces electricity. It's all about, people are quite conscious about low carbon footprint, right? So you want to go for those supplier who actually uses renewables, who uses solar, who uses wind. So it also gives you how the energy is produced, and it gives an option to the customer or the consumer to change based on the way it is produced. In India, it's only Karnataka Electric Board or the India, it's not, it's completely controlled by the government. Whereas in Western countries, it is again, you can, yeah. The second question you asked was on BA, domain versus technical skills. Again, I mentioned, the whole idea was to actually, we have lot of talent in India who understands technology. So the whole idea was to capitalize on such talent and complement it with the business proximate locations for domain knowledge in order to accelerate digital transformation. So we do prefer people who can actually come with a technology background, and so it's important for a business analyst to focus on, to have some view of the technology in order to implement the product, more importantly, understanding the business. So it's a combination of both.
Hi, ma'am. My name is Anju from Accenture Technology. My question is on the EV disruption, electric vehicles. One challenge for it is the charging time, in fact. So business models like battery swap and all has failed in Europe. Correct. So whether Shell has been able to contribute to that challenge?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it has solved it completely. However, there's something, you saw Shell Recharge Plus there. Shell Recharge Plus has something called as fast charging. So again, it's the capacity of the battery. It's not purely only software that pushes this thing. Batteries also should be latest in terms of being able to charge it faster. So if you saw in the video, a lady actually says how much she has to travel. I can say I need to travel 176 miles and I need charge. So based on what you want, and it's an app, mobile app, and it also actually cans the energy based on different sources. It could be through renewables, and charges it fast. So Shell Recharge Plus has something called as fast recharge. So in order to take it from 0 to 10%, probably it takes less than 10 minutes. So it also comes with a cost. At home, you actually put it at a night time when the cost is much lower, and you use it in the daytime, right? Whereas in highways, typically Shell Recharge Plus does fast charging. So you really get quickly charged, your batteries get quickly charged. At the same time, you don't do the entire battery, you do it as much as you need it. This AccuPort is another solution which actually looks at the shipping vessel and looks at where do I refuel my shipping vessel so that it's the most effective and cost effective. So ships cross several borders. So where is it most effective and how can it be provided? So that's again a pure software algorithm. Yeah. Thank you all so much. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about Shell.